never thought my own sister would try to kill me. But when the lab results came back and 3 police officers showed up at my door, I realized that the stomach pains, the dizziness, and the nights I spent vomiting until I couldn't stand weren't just bad luck. Someone had been slowly poisoning me for months, and that someone was sleeping in the bedroom right next to mine.
Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you.
My name is Jane Frost, and 6 months ago, I thought I had the perfect life mapped out. I was 24 years old, living in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in Portland, Oregon, with my older sister, Madison. We'd always been close, or at least I thought we were. After our parents died in a car accident 3 years earlier, Madison and I only had each other. She was 28, 4 years older than me, and she'd always been the responsible one, the one who made sure bills got paid, who remembered to buy groceries, who kept our little world running smoothly while I finished my degree in graphic design. I was grateful to her, genuinely grateful. When our parents passed, they left us their house in the suburbs, and Madison made the difficult decision to sell it. The money was split evenly between us, about $170,000 each. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to give us both a fresh start. Madison used hers as a down payment on a small condo she planned to move into eventually. I put mine in a high-yield savings account, determined to use it wisely. Maybe start my own design business someday, or travel, or just have a safety net while I figured out my career. Madison worked as a pharmaceutical sales rep, a job she'd held for 5 years. She was good at it too, charismatic, persuasive, always dressed impeccably in tailored blazers and heels that clicked authoritatively across our hardwood floors. She made decent money, drove a sleek silver Lexus, and seemed to have everything under control. I admired her. I wanted to be like her when I grew up, even though technically I was already grown. Our apartment was in a nice neighborhood near the Pearl District, close to trendy coffee shops and vintage boutiques. Madison had found the place, handled the lease, even picked out most of the furniture. I contributed to rent and utilities, but she managed everything else. It was easier that way. She was organized, I was creative, but scattered. We balanced each other out. Or so I thought. The first time I got sick, it was mid-March. I just landed my first real freelance client, a local brewery that wanted a complete rebrand. I was excited, maybe too excited, staying up late working on mock-ups and color palettes. One Thursday evening, Madison made dinner, her specialty, chicken Alfredo with garlic bread. She was a surprisingly good cook, always experimenting with new recipes she found online. That night, the Alfredo tasted a little off to me, slightly bitter, but I figured maybe she'd used a different cheese or added too much garlic. I didn't want to seem ungrateful, so I ate it anyway, complimenting her as I always did. 2 hours later, I was hunched over the toilet, violently ill. My stomach felt like it was twisting itself into knots, and I couldn't stop vomiting. Madison knocked on the bathroom door, her voice full of concern. "Jane, are you okay? Do you need me to take you to the hospital?" "I think it's just food poisoning," I managed to say between heaves. "I'll be fine." She brought me water and crackers, sat with me on the bathroom floor, rubbing my back while I emptied my stomach. "You probably caught something," she said softly. "There's a stomach bug going around at my office. Half the sales team called in sick this week." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? The sickness lasted 2 days. I couldn't keep anything down, not even water. My body felt weak, hollowed out. But eventually, it passed, and I chalked it up to bad luck. These things happened. Except they kept happening. 3 weeks later, I got sick again, this time after Madison made her famous homemade lasagna. Same symptoms: nausea, vomiting, stabbing pains in my abdomen that made me curl up in bed, unable to move. Madison was sympathetic, bringing me ginger ale and suggesting I see a doctor. Maybe you have a sensitive stomach or a food allergy you don't know about. I made an appointment with my primary care physician, Dr. Ramesh Patel, a soft-spoken man in his 50s who'd been my doctor since I was 20. He ran basic blood work, checked for common food allergies, tested for H. pylori and other digestive issues. Everything came back normal. "You're perfectly healthy," he told me, puzzled. "Maybe it's stress-related. Starting your freelance career can be overwhelming."
I accepted that explanation. It made sense. I was stressed. Building a business from scratch was harder than I had anticipated, and I was constantly worried about money, about making my inheritance last, about proving I could succeed on my own terms. But the incidents continued. Once in April, twice in May. By early June, I'd been violently ill 6 times in 3 months, and I started keeping a journal to track patterns: what I ate, how I felt, when the symptoms started. I became paranoid about food, terrified of triggering another episode. I lost 12 pounds without trying. My clothes hung loose on my frame. Dark circles appeared under my eyes, stubborn shadows that concealer couldn't hide.
Madison grew increasingly worried. At least, she seemed worried. She'd suggest I eat out more, try different restaurants, avoid cooking for myself. "You're clearly reacting to something," she'd say. "Maybe it's the cookware or the dish soap or something in the apartment." She was attentive, caring, always checking on me, always offering solutions. I never once suspected her. The strange thing was, I noticed a pattern I couldn't quite explain. I only got sick after eating meals Madison prepared at home. When I ate out or made my own simple meals like toast and scrambled eggs, I was fine. But I didn't want to believe what that pattern suggested. It was too horrible, too unthinkable. Madison was my sister, my only family. She loved me. She took care of me. There had to be another explanation. In late June, something else started happening. I began feeling dizzy, disoriented, even on days when I wasn't actively sick. I'd stand up too quickly and the room would spin. I'd forget words mid-sentence, lose my train of thought during client calls. My hands trembled when I tried to sketch. I thought maybe I was anemic or depressed or just exhausted from months of mysterious illness. Then one night in early July, everything changed. Madison had made beef stew, a hearty recipe she said would build my strength back up. The apartment smelled amazing, rich and savory, like comfort itself. We sat at our small dining table, and she served me a generous bowl, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Pride? Satisfaction? Something else? I took the first bite, and immediately something felt wrong. The meat tasted metallic, chemical, nothing like beef should taste. I put my spoon down. "This tastes weird," I said carefully, not wanting to offend her. Madison's smile faltered for just a fraction of a second. "Weird how?" "I don't know, just off. Did you use a different seasoning?" She laughed, but it sounded forced. "It's the same recipe I always use. Maybe your taste buds are still messed up from being sick so much." That made sense. I picked up my spoon again, hesitated, then took another small bite. The metallic taste was still there, but Madison was watching me expectantly, and I didn't want to hurt her feelings. She'd spent all evening cooking for me. I managed 3 more bites before I couldn't anymore. "I'm sorry, Mads, I just can't. My stomach feels weird already." Her face tightened almost imperceptibly. "You barely touched it." "I know, I'm sorry. I'll save it for later. Maybe I'll feel better then." I covered the bowl with plastic wrap and put it in the fridge, then retreated to my bedroom, feeling guilty and ungrateful. Madison had done something nice for me and I'd rejected it. But that metallic taste lingered on my tongue, making me queasy. Around 2 in the morning, I woke up desperately thirsty. My mouth felt like cotton and my head was pounding. I stumbled to the kitchen in the dark, trying not to wake Madison. As I filled a glass of water from the tap, I noticed the fridge door was slightly ajar, a thin line of light cutting through the darkness. I opened it fully to push it closed properly, and that's when I saw it. My bowl of beef stew was gone. Not in the fridge, not on the counter, gone entirely. Even the plastic wrap I had used to cover it had vanished. My heart started beating faster. Why would Madison throw away perfectly good leftovers? She was always on me about food waste, about not throwing away things we could eat later.
Unless there was a reason she didn't want me to eat it later. Unless there was a reason she didn't want that food to exist at all. I stood there in the dim refrigerator light, cold air spilling out around my bare feet, and for the first time, I let myself think the unthinkable thought I'd been pushing away for months. What if Madison was the reason I kept getting sick? What if my own sister was poisoning me?
Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story.
The thought kept me awake for the rest of that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the apartment, the hum of the refrigerator, the occasional car passing on the street below, Madison's soft breathing from the room next to mine. Every innocent sound suddenly felt sinister. By morning, I'd almost convinced myself I was being paranoid. Grief did strange things to people, and maybe I was projecting my unresolved trauma about losing our parents onto Madison. Maybe she'd simply thrown the stew away because it had gone bad, or because she was cleaning out the fridge. There were a dozen reasonable explanations. But I couldn't shake the feeling. I started researching. Sitting in a corner booth at a coffee shop 3 blocks from our apartment, I typed variations of the same question into my laptop. Symptoms of poisoning, slow poisoning signs, how to know if someone is poisoning you. The results were horrifying and eerily familiar. Nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, dizziness, confusion, tremors. I had experienced every single symptom on the list. The articles mentioned different substances: arsenic, rat poison, antifreeze, heavy metals. Each had slightly different symptom profiles, but they all overlapped in ways that made my blood run cold. Some poisons could be administered in small doses over time, causing chronic illness that mimicked other conditions. The victim might go months without realizing what was happening. I felt sick, but this time it wasn't physical. It was the sickness of betrayal, of having your reality completely inverted. I needed proof. I couldn't go to the police with just a suspicion and a missing bowl of stew. They'd think I was crazy, paranoid, suffering from some kind of psychological break after losing my parents. I needed something concrete. That afternoon, I called Dr. Patel's office and made an appointment for the following week. But I didn't want to wait that long. I needed to know now. I searched for private testing facilities in Portland and found a place called Northwest Toxicology Services in Beaverton, about 30 minutes away. They offered comprehensive toxicology screenings, blood and urine tests that could detect dozens of different poisons and heavy metals. It was expensive, nearly $600 out of pocket, but I didn't care. I made an appointment for the next day, Thursday afternoon. I told Madison I was meeting a potential client downtown. She smiled and wished me luck, kissing my cheek as I headed out the door. Her lips felt like ice against my skin. The toxicology clinic was in a nondescript medical building near a shopping center. The waiting room smelled like antiseptic and old magazines. A tired-looking receptionist took my information and payment, barely glancing up from her computer screen. Within 20 minutes, I was in a small examination room with a phlebotomist named Carmen, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and gentle hands. "Just a standard tox screen?" she asked, prepping my arm with an alcohol swab. "Comprehensive," I said. "Everything you can test for." She didn't ask why, which I appreciated. She drew 4 vials of blood and handed me a specimen cup for urine. "Results typically take 3 to 5 business days," she explained. "We'll call you when they're ready, and you can pick up a copy of the report or have it sent to your doctor." "How quickly could you get results if it was urgent?" I asked. Carmen paused, studying my face. Whatever she saw there made her expression soften. "If you mark it as priority and pay the rush fee, we can have preliminary results in 24 to 48 hours. That's an additional $200. "Do it," I said immediately. I left the clinic feeling simultaneously relieved and terrified. In a day or two, I'd know for certain. Either I was losing my mind,
or someone I loved was trying to kill me. I wasn't sure which option was worse. That evening, Madison made chicken parmesan. She set the table with care, lit candles, poured us each a glass of white wine. I thought we could have a nice dinner together. We've both been so busy lately. I feel like we barely see each other anymore. I looked at the food on my plate. Breaded chicken cutlet covered in marinara sauce and melted mozzarella, a side of pasta, garlic bread glistening with butter. It looked delicious. It looked dangerous. I'm actually not very hungry. I had a late lunch with that client. Madison's smile dimmed. You didn't mention the meeting went long. It was good, productive. We went over a lot of details, and they insisted on buying lunch. I'm still full. You need to eat, Jane. You're too thin. You can't keep skipping meals. I'll eat later, I promise. I'm actually really tired. I think I'm going to lie down for a bit. I retreated to my bedroom and locked the door, something I'd never done before. Through the thin walls, I could hear the sounds of Madison cleaning up dinner, the clatter of dishes, the running water, her footsteps moving back and forth across the kitchen floor. Then silence. Around 9 o'clock, there was a soft knock on my door. Jane, are you awake? I pretended to be asleep, controlling my breathing, keeping perfectly still. After a long moment, I heard her footsteps retreat. I waited another hour, then quietly opened my door and peered down the hallway. Madison's bedroom light was off. The apartment was dark and still. I crept to the kitchen and opened the fridge. Sure enough, my untouched plate of chicken parmesan was gone. Completely gone. Madison had thrown away an entire meal, maybe $20 worth, of food rather than save it as leftovers.
My hands started shaking. This was a pattern. This was real. Every meal I'd refused or barely touched had disappeared without a trace. She was destroying evidence. I couldn't stay there. Not tonight. Not until I had answers. I grabbed my laptop bag, threw some clothes and toiletries into a backpack, and quietly left the apartment. Madison didn't wake up, or if she did, she didn't come out to stop me. I drove to a Holiday Inn near the airport and paid cash for a room. The clerk didn't ask questions. I locked myself inside, pushed a chair against the door for extra security, and finally let myself fall apart. I cried for an hour straight. For my parents, for my sister, for the family I thought I had and was losing all over again. Friday passed in a haze. I worked from the hotel room, emailing clients, making excuses about why I couldn't meet in person. Madison texted me several times. "Where are you? Are you okay? I'm worried about you. Please come home." Each message made my stomach clench. I replied simply, "Staying with a friend for a few days. Need some space. I'm fine." She called twice. I didn't answer. Saturday morning, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I almost didn't pick up, but something made me answer. "Hello? Is this Jane Frost?" A woman's professional voice. "Yes. This is Carmen from Northwest Toxicology Services. I'm calling about your test results." My heart stopped. "Already?" "Yes. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come in to discuss these results in person. Can you come to the clinic today?" "What did you find?" My voice came out as a whisper. There was a pause. "Miss Frost, your blood work shows significantly elevated levels of arsenic trioxide. The levels we're seeing are consistent with chronic exposure over an extended period. This isn't accidental environmental exposure. Someone has been poisoning you." The hotel room tilted sideways. I sat down hard on the bed. "Are you sure?" "I'm certain. I've already contacted the police as required by law when we detect evidence of intentional poisoning. A detective will likely want to speak with you, but you need to come in immediately. You need medical treatment. Depending on how long this has been going on, there could be serious organ damage." "How long?" I asked numbly. "How long has someone been doing this to me?" "Based on the accumulation levels in your system, I'd estimate you've been exposed to arsenic regularly for at least 3 to 4 months, possibly longer. Miss Frost, this is very serious. You're lucky to be alive." 3 to 4 months.
Since March. Since the first time Madison made me dinner and I got violently ill. "I'll be there in an hour," I said and ended the call. I sat on that generic hotel bed in my wrinkled clothes, staring at nothing, and finally accepted the truth I'd been running from. My sister, my only living family member, the person I trusted most in the world, the person who was supposed to protect me, had been slowly killing me for months, and I had no idea why.
I drove to the toxicology clinic in a state of complete numbness. My hands gripped the steering wheel, my foot pressed the gas pedal, my eyes watched the road. But I felt disconnected from my own body, like I was piloting it remotely from somewhere far away. Carmen met me at the front desk, her expression grave. She ushered me into a private consultation room where a thin manila folder sat on the table. My name was typed on the label. Inside that folder was proof that someone wanted me dead. "Before we go over the details, I need to explain what happens next," Carmen said, sitting across from me. "When we detect poisoning cases, we're legally required to report them to law enforcement. I've already filed a report with the Portland Police Bureau. A detective from their major crimes unit will be contacting you, probably within the next few hours." Major crimes? The words felt surreal in my mouth. "Attempted murder is investigated by major crimes, yes." She said it so matter-of-factly, like she was discussing the weather. "I've also printed out a referral for you to see a toxicologist at Oregon Health and Science University. You need a full medical evaluation. Arsenic exposure can cause liver damage, kidney problems, neurological issues, and increased cancer risk. The sooner you start chelation therapy to remove the arsenic from your system, the better your long-term prognosis." She opened the folder and slid several pages toward me. Charts, numbers, reference ranges, all meaningless medical jargon, except for one line highlighted in yellow. "Arsenic, blood, 187 mcg per L, reference range, less than 10 mcg per L." What does that number mean? It means you have nearly 20 times the normal level of arsenic in your blood. Levels above 100 mcg per L indicate serious toxic exposure. You're experiencing chronic arsenic poisoning, which explains all the symptoms you've been having. The gastrointestinal distress, the neurological symptoms, the weakness. How was it given to me? Could it be in the water, or... She shook her head. "Not with these levels. This is deliberate, repeated dosing. Arsenic trioxide can be dissolved in food or drinks. It's tasteless in small amounts, though in larger doses it can have a slightly metallic or garlic-like taste. The metallic taste of the beef stew, that awful chemical bitterness in the Alfredo. Can you tell how it was administered? Like, what form it was in?" The lab can't determine the exact source, but arsenic trioxide is unfortunately not difficult to obtain. It's used in some industrial applications, certain pesticides, wood preservatives. Someone with access to pharmaceutical supplies or certain chemicals could acquire it. Madison. Madison worked in pharmaceutical sales. She had access to all kinds of medications and chemical compounds. She traveled to hospitals, clinics, research facilities. She would know how to get something like this. "How long do I have?" The question came out calmer than I expected. "If the exposure stopped today, how long before it kills me?" Her expression softened. "You're not going to die, Jane. Not if you start treatment immediately. Your levels are dangerously high, but you caught it in time. Your liver and kidney function tests show some stress, but no permanent damage yet. With proper medical intervention, you can make a full recovery." I wanted to feel relief, but all I felt was hollow. And if I hadn't caught it, if I'd kept eating those meals? She was quiet for a moment. "Within another month or two, you'd likely have experienced acute organ failure. After that..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. My phone buzzed. A text from Madison. "Jane, please talk to me. Whatever I did to upset you, I'm sorry. Just come home." I stared at those words. The manipulation was so elegant, so subtle, making it about my feelings, about something she supposedly did wrong without knowing, painting herself as the confused, apologetic sister who just wanted to fix things. If I didn't know what I knew now,
I'd feel guilty. I'd rush home to reassure her. I need to go, I said, standing abruptly. Thank you for catching this. Carmen stood too, placing a hand on my arm. Jane, please promise me you'll see the toxicologist, and more importantly, do not go back to wherever you've been living. Do not have any contact with whoever did this until the police are involved. Poisoners escalate when they realize they've been caught. I nodded mechanically and left the clinic with my folder of proof, my death sentence, documented in neat charts and medical terminology. Back in my car, I couldn't bring myself to start the engine. I just sat there in the parking lot, watching normal people go about their normal Saturday errands. A mother with 2 kids getting groceries, an elderly couple holding hands, people whose sisters aren't trying to murder them. Why would Madison do this? That was the question that kept circling through my mind like a vulture. We'd been close. We grieved our parents together. We'd built a life together. What could possibly motivate her to kill me?
Money. The thought arrived with cold clarity. The inheritance. We'd each received the same amount, but I still had most of mine sitting in savings, while Madison had spent hers on a condo down payment and her lifestyle. She was always buying things. Designer clothes, expensive dinners, weekend trips to Seattle and San Francisco. Her credit cards were probably maxed out. I'd seen the collection notices that occasionally arrived in the mail before she snatched them away. If I died, who would inherit my money? Madison was my only living relative. I didn't have a will. Who makes a will at 24? Everything would go to her automatically. $170,000. Enough to solve all her financial problems. Enough to kill for. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? Is this Jane Frost? A man's voice, professional and direct. Yes? This is Detective Marcus Webb with the Portland Police Bureau, Major Crimes Unit. I've received a report about your toxicology results. I need to speak with you as soon as possible. Are you somewhere safe right now? I'm at the toxicology clinic in Beaverton. Stay there. I'm 20 minutes away. Do not go anywhere. Do not contact anyone. Understood? Understood. While I waited, I thought about every interaction with Madison over the past months. Her insistence on cooking for me, her concern when I got sick, her suggestions to see doctors, to try different foods, to avoid stress. It had all seemed so caring, so sisterly, but now I saw it differently. She was covering her tracks, creating a narrative of a mysterious illness that doctors couldn't diagnose, making sure I looked like I was just fragile, just unlucky, just sick. If I died, everyone would have assumed it was some undiagnosed condition. Young woman, already weakened by grief over losing her parents, succumbs to mysterious illness despite her devoted sister's best efforts to save her. Madison would have cried at my funeral. She would have given a beautiful eulogy. And then she would have taken my money and moved on with her life. The rage hit me. Suddenly, violently. I gripped the steering wheel and screamed, a raw, primal sound that tore out of my throat and filled the car. I screamed until my voice cracked, until my lungs burned, until the numbness finally gave way to something real. How dare she? How dare she take our parents' memory and twist it into this? How dare she sit next to me on the bathroom floor, rubbing my back while I vomited up the poison she'd fed me? How dare she look me in the eyes and lie with such ease? A knock on my window made me jump. A man in his 40s stood outside, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing jeans and a dark jacket. He held up a badge. Detective Webb. I opened the door and stepped out on shaking legs. Miss Frost, he said, his voice gentler than it had been on the phone. I know this is overwhelming, but I need you to tell me everything. Start from the beginning and don't leave anything out. So I did. Standing in that parking lot under the gray Portland sky, I told a stranger how my sister had been slowly killing me. And with every word I spoke, the reality became more concrete, more undeniable, more horrifying. When I finished, Detective Webb was quiet for a long moment. Then he said,
You can't go back to that apartment. Do you have somewhere else to stay? I've been at a hotel since yesterday. Good. Stay there. Don't tell your sister where you are. In fact, don't communicate with her at all. We're going to need to build a case before we can make an arrest. And that means gathering evidence. I'll need to see your medical records, interview your doctors, search your apartment for the arsenic source. He paused. This is going to get harder before it gets better. Are you prepared for that? I thought about Madison's face, her smile, her voice calling me to dinner. I thought about all the times she'd seemed to care. I'm prepared, I said, but I wasn't sure I believed it.
Detective Webb asked me to follow him to the central precinct downtown. The police station was a cold, utilitarian building that smelled like burnt coffee and floor cleaner. He led me to a small interview room with cinder-block walls painted beige and a table bolted to the floor. Everything about the space screamed interrogation, even though I was the victim. I need to record your official statement, he explained, setting up a digital recorder. Walk me through everything again, but this time I need specific dates, times, details about each incident. Any text messages, emails, medical records, anything that can help establish a timeline. For the next 2 hours, I relived every moment of the past 4 months. Detective Webb was patient, methodical, occasionally stopping me to ask clarifying questions. What did the food taste like? Did anyone else eat the same meal? Did your sister watch you eat? What happened to the leftovers? When I mentioned how food kept disappearing from the fridge, his expression darkened. She was destroying evidence. Classic behavior. She knew that if anyone tested those meals, they'd find the arsenic. Can you test our apartment, the kitchen, her bedroom, see if there's arsenic there? We'll need a search warrant for that, which means we need probable cause. Your medical evidence is strong, but we need more to connect it specifically to your sister. Right now, we have proof you were poisoned, but not definitive proof of who did it. Who else would it be? My voice rose. I only ate her cooking. I only got sick after her meals. She has access to pharmaceutical supplies. She benefits financially from my death. I believe you, Detective Webb said calmly, but a prosecutor needs airtight evidence. Defense attorneys are good at creating reasonable doubt. We need to catch her with the arsenic, or find it in her possession, or get her to confess. Otherwise, she could walk. The thought made me physically ill. So what do I do? First, you cooperate with your medical treatment. Second, you stay away from her and stay safe. Third, he hesitated. You consider helping us gather evidence. How? By talking to her, wearing a wire, seeing if she'll say something incriminating. My blood went cold. You want me to confront the person who's been poisoning me? Not confront, that's too dangerous. But maybe reconnect. Tell her you've been at a friend's house, that you're sorry for disappearing, that you want to come home. See how she reacts. See what she says. People who commit crimes like this often can't help themselves. They drop hints, make revealing statements, especially if they think they're getting away with it. And if she tries to poison me again? You wouldn't eat anything she prepares. You'd meet in public places. Or you'd make excuses. We'd have officers nearby at all times. You'd never be alone with her. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly freezing despite the stuffy room. The thought of facing Madison, of pretending everything was normal while knowing what she'd done, it felt impossible. But Detective Webb was right. Without more evidence, she might never face consequences for what she'd tried to do to me. I need time to think about it, I said. Of course. But Jane, he leaned forward, his expression serious. Time is something we might not have much of. Right now, your sister thinks you're just upset about something. She doesn't know you figured it out. That's our advantage. Once she realizes you know, she'll either run or lawyer up, and this gets 10 times harder. I left the police station with Detective Webb's card and a victim services packet I'd never asked for. The sun was setting, painting Portland's skyline in shades of orange and pink. Beautiful and completely wrong. The world shouldn't look beautiful when mine was falling apart. Back at the hotel, I opened my laptop and did something I'd been avoiding. I looked at my finances.
My savings account with the inheritance money, my checking account, my credit cards, everything was in order, untouched. But then I logged into my email and searched for anything from my bank. There, buried in my spam folder from 2 months ago, was an email I'd never seen. Confirmation. You've been added as a joint account holder. The email was for my savings account, the one with my inheritance. According to the message, Madison Frost had been added as a joint holder on April 15th. My hands started shaking so badly I nearly dropped my laptop. I hadn't added her. I would never add her, which meant she'd done it herself somehow. Forged my signature maybe, or used my information to call the bank and pretend to be me. I called my bank immediately, and after 15 minutes of hold music and security questions, I finally reached a supervisor named Patricia. Yes, Miss Frost, I see the change was made on April 15th. The request came through our online portal using your login credentials. I didn't make that request. A pause. Are you saying your account was accessed fraudulently? Yes. My sister, the person who was added, she must have gotten my password somehow. I see. We'll need to file a fraud report and reverse the change immediately. I'm also going to freeze the account temporarily to prevent any unauthorized transactions. Check if anything has been moved or withdrawn.
More keyboard clicking. There haven't been any withdrawals, but there was a transfer initiated yesterday, Friday afternoon. $5,000 scheduled to move from your savings to an account in Madison Frost's name. The transfer was set to process on Monday. $5,000. She had been planning to drain my account gradually, probably figuring I wouldn't notice small amounts disappearing. Or maybe she was getting desperate, realizing her plan wasn't working fast enough. Cancel it, I said. Cancel everything. Remove her access completely. I'll take care of it right now. Miss Frost, you should also file a police report about the fraud. I'm already working with the police, I said grimly. After I hung up, I immediately called Detective Webb. He answered on the second ring. Miss Frost? She added herself to my bank account without my permission. She was planning to steal $5,000 on Monday. Can you prove she did it fraudulently? The bank has records of when the access was added. I can show that I never authorized it. That's excellent. Financial fraud plus attempted murder. That's a pattern of behavior. This strengthens our case significantly. Email me all the documentation. There's more, I said. She was going to take the money Monday. That means she's escalating. She's getting impatient. Or desperate, Detective Webb agreed, which makes her more dangerous but also more likely to make mistakes. Jane, I need to ask you again. Will you help us? Will you wear a wire and talk to her? I thought about that number. $170,000. The money my parents had worked their entire lives to save. Money from the house I'd grown up in, where Mom had taught me to bake cookies in the kitchen, where Dad had built me a treehouse in the backyard. Madison was willing to kill me for it, willing to steal what our parents had left us both. Yes, I said. I'll do it. Good. Come to the station tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. We'll get you fitted with recording equipment and brief you on what to say. Remember, don't contact her until we're ready. We control when and how this happens. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining tomorrow, imagining seeing Madison's face again, hearing her voice. Would I be able to hide what I knew? Would she sense something was wrong? Around midnight, my phone lit up with another text from Madison. Jane, I'm really worried. It's been 2 days. Please just let me know you're alive. The irony was so bitter, it made me laugh, a harsh, broken sound in the dark hotel room. She wanted to know if I was alive. She, who'd been feeding me poison for months. I typed and deleted half a dozen responses before finally settling on, I'm fine, just needed space. I'll explain soon. Her reply came instantly. Thank God. I've been so scared. I love you, sis. I stared at those words until they blurred. I love you, sis. She'd said that to me hundreds of times.
After our parents died, she'd said it every single day, like a promise that we'd get through it together. But love didn't poison someone. Love didn't steal from them. Love didn't watch them suffer and pretend to care while planning their death. Whatever Madison felt for me, it wasn't love. It had never been love. Tomorrow, I'd face her. Tomorrow, I'd help catch her. Tomorrow, I'd get justice. But tonight, I let myself grieve for the sister I thought I had, the one that had never really existed at all.
Sunday morning arrived too quickly. I met Detective Webb at the precinct at 10 o'clock sharp, where he introduced me to a technical specialist named Officer Ryan Chen. Ryan was in his early 30s, calm and professional, and he explained how the recording equipment worked while opening a small black case on the table. "This is a body wire," he said, holding up what looked like a thin black cord with a small device attached. "It's designed to be hidden under clothing. The microphone is incredibly sensitive. It'll pick up conversations clearly, even in noisy environments. The transmitter sends the audio directly to our receivers, so we'll hear everything in real time." He demonstrated how to position it, running the wire up my torso and placing the tiny microphone near my collarbone. "The battery lasts about 8 hours. You'll want to test your clothing to make sure there's no rustling or interference. Loose fabrics work best. Nothing too tight or synthetic that might create static." I changed in the bathroom, putting on jeans and a loose cotton blouse that concealed the equipment completely. When I returned, Ryan had me walk around the room, speak in different volumes, turn my head side to side. He adjusted the microphone placement twice before nodding with satisfaction. "Perfect." "Now, let's talk about safety protocols," Detective Webb said. "You'll meet your sister in a public location. I'm thinking that coffee shop near your apartment, the one on Morrison Street. Officers will be positioned nearby, some in plain clothes inside the cafe, others in vehicles outside. At any point you feel unsafe, you use the panic word." Panic word? A specific word that signals us to intervene immediately. Something you wouldn't normally say in casual conversation. What sounds natural for you? I thought for a moment. Butterfly. I hate butterflies. I'd never bring them up randomly. Butterfly it is. You say that word, we move in within seconds. Understood? I nodded, my mouth dry. "Now, here's what we need," Detective Webb continued, pulling out a notepad. "We need her to admit she's been making your food. We need her to acknowledge you've been sick. Ideally, we need her to say something that indicates knowledge of what's been happening to you, something a truly innocent person wouldn't know. Don't push too hard, or she'll get suspicious, but guide the conversation toward these topics." What if she doesn't say anything incriminating? Then we try again, as many times as it takes. But Jane? His expression turned serious. Predators like your sister often can't resist gloating when they think they're winning. She believes she's gotten away with this. That arrogance might make her careless. We spent the next hour running through scenarios, practicing questions I might ask, responses I might give. Ryan recorded everything so I could hear how I sounded, too nervous at first, then gradually more natural. Detective Webb played Madison's role, responding how he thought she might react. "What if she asks me to come home?" I asked during a break. "You tell her you're not ready yet, that you need a few more days. Under no circumstances do you go back to that apartment alone with her. If she insists, you use your panic word." By noon, they deemed me ready. Or as ready as I could be for something like this. I texted Madison from the parking lot. "Can you meet for coffee? I think we need to talk. Morrison Street Cafe, 2 p.m. Her response came within 30 seconds. "Yes, thank you. I'll be there. Love you." Those two words, "love you," felt like a knife sliding between my ribs. I had 2 hours to kill. I drove aimlessly through Portland's streets, past Washington Park, through the Alphabet District with its Victorian houses, along the waterfront where people jogged and biked in the autumn sunshine. Normal people living normal lives. I envied them so desperately it hurt. At 1:30, I parked 3 blocks from the cafe and walked slowly, checking my phone compulsively. Detective Webb had texted, "Team in position. You've got this." The Morrison Street Cafe was a cozy place with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. I'd been here dozens of times with Madison, sipping lattes and sharing pastries, talking about our days, our dreams, our lives. Now it felt like enemy territory. I arrived at 1:50. Madison wasn't there yet. I ordered a black coffee. I didn't trust myself to drink anything more complicated, and chose a table near the window where I knew the surveillance team could see me clearly. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to set the cup down. At exactly 2 o'clock, Madison walked through the door. She looked terrible. Her usual perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore yoga pants and an oversized shirt, nothing like her typical polished appearance. Her eyes were red-rimmed, like she'd been crying. When she saw me, her face crumpled with relief. "Jane!" she breathed, rushing over. She moved to hug me, and I forced myself not to flinch, not to pull away. Her arms wrapped around me, and she smelled like her vanilla perfume, exactly the same as always. "God, I was so worried. Where have you been?" "Just at a friend's place," I said, sitting back down. My voice sounded surprisingly steady. "I just needed some space." "Space from what? From me? Jane, what did I do? I've been going crazy trying to figure out what I did wrong." The performance was flawless. The concern, the confusion, the hurt. If I didn't know better, I'd believe every word. "You didn't do anything wrong," I lied. "I've just been feeling overwhelmed. Work stress, money stress, everything." "You can talk to me about that stuff. We're sisters. We're supposed to help each other." Her grip on my hands tightened. "I've been so scared something happened to you. You weren't answering my calls. You were barely texting." "I know. I'm sorry. I just needed time to think." "About what?" Her eyes searched my face, and I saw something flicker there. Calculation behind the concern. "Is this about you being sick so much? Because I've been thinking about that too. We should find you a specialist, someone who can really figure out what's wrong."
There it was, the opening. "I have been thinking about that," I said carefully. "All those times I got sick, it was always after eating at home." Madison's expression didn't change, but her hands went very still in mine. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I only got sick after eating meals at the apartment. When I ate out, I was fine." That's just coincidence," Madison said, but something in her voice had shifted. "Or maybe it's a food allergy or something wrong with our kitchen. We should call the landlord, have them check for mold. Or it was always after eating your cooking, specifically," I interrupted, watching her face. "All those dinners you made for me. The Alfredo, the lasagna, the beef stew." The mask slipped for just a second. Her eyes went flat, emotionless, before the concerned expression returned. "Jane, what are you saying? You think I made you sick?" "I don't know what to think," I said, which was the truth buried in lies. "It's just strange, isn't it? That pattern?" "You're stressed, and you're looking for patterns that aren't there," Madison said, withdrawing her hands from mine. Her voice had cooled slightly. "I've been taking care of you, worrying about you, trying to help you feel better, and now you're accusing me of what, exactly?" "I'm not accusing you of anything," I said quickly, backpedaling. "I'm just trying to understand why I kept getting sick." "Maybe you should talk to a therapist," Madison said sharply. "Grief can make people paranoid. It can make them see threats that don't exist." Using our parents' deaths as a weapon, using my trauma against me. The cruelty of it took my breath away. "You're probably right," I forced myself to say. "I'm probably just being paranoid." Madison's expression softened again, the concerned sister sliding back into place. "I get it.
Losing Mom and Dad messed us both up, but we have each other, remember? We're all we've got left. She reached for my hands again. Come home, Jane, please. The apartment feels empty without you. I miss you. I looked at her face, the face I'd known my entire life, the face I'd trusted absolutely, and saw a stranger, a dangerous stranger who'd tried to kill me and was now begging me to come back so she could finish the job. I miss you too, I lied, the words like ash in my mouth, but I need a few more days. I'm not ready yet. Something hard flashed across Madison's face before she hit it. How many more days? I don't know. Soon. Are you coming back at all? She asked, and beneath the hurt I heard something else. Anger. Impatience. Are you just going to abandon me like everyone else? I'm not abandoning you. It feels like you are, Madison said, her voice rising slightly. Several people in the cafe glanced our way. First Mom and Dad leave us, and now you're leaving too. How much am I supposed to take? She was good. She was very good. Turning herself into the victim, making me feel guilty for protecting myself from her. I'm just need time, I repeated. Please understand. Madison stared at me for a long moment, and I saw her recalculating, adjusting her strategy. Finally, she sighed. Okay, take your time. But Jane, her voice dropped lower. I love you. Whatever's going on in your head, whatever you're thinking, just remember that I love you. I would never hurt you. Never. The lie was so enormous, so breathtaking, that I almost said the panic word right there, but I held it together, nodding, murmuring agreement. When Madison finally left 15 minutes later, I sat alone at that table and let my hands shake, let my breath come in gasps, let myself fall apart where she couldn't see me. Detective Webb's voice came through my earpiece, quiet and steady. You did great, Jane. Meet us back at the station. We got everything.
Back at the police station, Detective Webb played the recording for me and two other detectives who joined the investigation, Detective Lisa Moreno and Detective James Park. We sat in a conference room listening to my voice and Madison's voice, discussing my mysterious illness, her defensive responses, her manipulation tactics. She's careful, Detective Moreno observed. She never admits to anything directly. Everything she says could be interpreted as innocent concern. But the deflection is telling, Detective Park countered. When Jane mentions the pattern of getting sick after Madison's cooking, she immediately redirects to food allergies, mold, anything but herself. Then she weaponizes their parents' deaths to make Jane seem unstable. It's not enough for an arrest, Detective Webb said grimly. A defense attorney would tear this apart. Concerned sister worried about her paranoid sibling. That's how they'd spin it. My heart sank. So what do we do now? We search your apartment, Detective Webb said. I've been working on the warrant all afternoon. Judge Brennan signed it an hour ago. We're executing it tonight while your sister's at work. She mentioned during your conversation that she has a client dinner downtown at 7, remember? I did remember. Madison had mentioned it in passing, complaining about having to put on a professional face when she was so emotionally exhausted from worrying about me. Another performance. What are you looking for? I asked. Arsenic trioxide in any form. We'll search her bedroom, bathroom, her car if it's in the parking garage. We're looking for the source. Bottles, containers, anything that could be used to store or transport poison. We'll also collect samples from the kitchen. Dishes, utensils, food containers. What if she's already gotten rid of it? The thought made my stomach clench. She's been throwing away food. She might have thrown away the poison too. People usually keep their weapons, Detective Moreno said, especially when they think they're getting away with it. Your sister believes you suspect nothing. She has no reason to dispose of evidence yet. At 6:30, I found myself sitting in an unmarked police car outside my own apartment building, watching the entrance. Detective Webb sat beside me, two other officers in a second vehicle behind us. At 6:40, Madison emerged wearing a sleek black dress and heels, her hair styled perfectly, her professional mask firmly in place.
She climbed into her Lexus and drove away toward downtown. "Give it 10 minutes to make sure she's really gone," Detective Webb said, speaking into his radio. "Forensics team, prepare to enter." Those 10 minutes felt like hours. I watched people come and go from my building, neighbors I recognized, the elderly man from 3B walking his corgi, the young couple from 2A carrying takeout bags. My building, my home, now a crime scene. At 7 o'clock exactly, Detective Webb nodded. "Let's go." I led them upstairs using my key. 6 people entered my apartment: Detective Webb, Detective Moreno, Detective Park, and 3 forensic specialists in navy jackets with evidence printed across the back. They moved through the space efficiently, photographing everything before touching anything. "Show us your sister's room," Detective Webb said. Madison's bedroom was immaculate as always. Queen bed with expensive linens, a dresser with perfume bottles arranged precisely, a closet organized by color. Everything in its place, everything controlled. The forensics team began systematically searching drawers, closet shelves, under the bed, inside shoeboxes. Nothing. They moved to her bathroom. Medicine cabinet, under the sink, inside the toilet tank. Still nothing. "Check the kitchen," Detective Moreno suggested. "Sometimes they hide it in plain sight." But the kitchen yielded nothing either. No arsenic trioxide in the spice cabinet, the pantry, the refrigerator. The forensics team bagged various items, dishes, glasses, a container of salt that seemed suspicious, but found no obvious poison. After 90 minutes, Detective Webb looked frustrated. "She's hidden it well, or she keeps it with her in her car or her purse." "What about her office?" I said suddenly. "She has a home office in the second bedroom. We converted it when we moved in." The second bedroom was small, more of a study than a proper office. Madison's desk sat against a wall. Neat and organized, laptop, desk lamp, a cup of pens, a stack of pharmaceutical company brochures. A filing cabinet stood in the corner. Detective Park opened the filing cabinet drawers methodically. Tax documents, insurance papers, work files. He pulled out the bottom drawer and riffled through hanging folders. Then he stopped. "Webb, look at this." He held up a small glass vial, maybe 2 inches tall, with a white cap. The label had been partially scraped off, but I could still make out part of the text, "arsenic trioxide," and below it, "poison. Handle with care." The room went silent. Everyone stared at that tiny vial, barely an ounce of liquid, enough to kill someone slowly over months. "That's it," I whispered. "That's what she used." A forensic specialist carefully took the vial from Detective Park using gloved hands, placing it in an evidence bag. She held it up to the light. "It's about half empty. This was a medical-grade container, probably from a pharmaceutical supply." "Bag everything in this office," Detective Webb ordered. "Computer, papers, anything that might show how she obtained this." They found more. In a locked desk drawer, the key was in Madison's jewelry box, they discovered a spiral notebook. Detective Moreno flipped through it, her expression growing darker with each page. She handed it to Detective Webb, without a word. He read aloud. "March 14th. Started with small dose in Alfredo sauce. Need to be patient. March 28th. Second dose in lasagna. She got sick. Good. Must maintain concerned sister routine. April 11th. Increasing dose slightly. She's losing weight. Doctors found nothing. Excellent." My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the office floor. Detective Webb kept reading, but I couldn't hear him anymore. There was a roaring in my ears, a rushing sound, like I was underwater. Madison had documented everything. Every time she had poisoned me, every symptom she had observed, every calculation about dosage and timing. It was all there, in her neat, precise handwriting. A murder diary. "Jane," Detective Moreno crouched beside me, her voice gentle, "we need you to stay strong just a little longer. Can you do that?"
I nodded, though I wasn't sure I could. Detective Webb was on his phone now, calling someone. "Judge Brennan, we found it. Arsenic trioxide in the suspect's possession, plus documented evidence of the poisoning attempts. I need an arrest warrant immediately. A pause. Yes, Your Honor. Tonight. Things moved quickly after that. I was ushered out of the apartment. It was a crime scene now. I couldn't stay there. Detective Webb drove me back to my hotel while the forensics team continued processing evidence. In the car, he explained what would happen next. We're issuing a warrant for your sister's arrest. We'll pick her up tonight when she leaves her dinner meeting. She'll be charged with attempted murder and fraud. With the evidence we have, the poison, the notebook, your medical records, the bank fraud, the DA believes we have a strong case. Will she go to prison? My voice sounded hollow, distant. If convicted, she's looking at 20 to 30 years, possibly more with the aggravating factors. The premeditation, the extended timeline, the abuse of familial trust. Judges don't look kindly on this type of crime. 20 to 30 years? My sister would be in her 50s when she got out. I would be in my mid-40s. Half our lives. Gone. Jane, I need to prepare you for what happens when we arrest her. She's going to know you were involved. She's going to know you helped us gather evidence. She'll likely be angry, possibly violent. You cannot have any contact with her, and you need to take security precautions. Change your locks if you go back to that apartment. Vary your routines. Be aware of your surroundings. You think she'd come after me? I think someone who spent months slowly poisoning their own sister is capable of anything. Until she's in custody, you're still at risk. We arrived at the hotel. Detective Webb walked me to my room, checked inside to make sure it was secure. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except police with proper identification. I'll call you when we have her in custody. After he left, I sat on the hotel bed and stared at nothing. The notebook kept replaying in my mind. Madison's handwriting, so familiar from birthday cards and grocery lists and notes left on the refrigerator. That same handwriting documenting how she was killing me. Need to be patient. She got sick. Good. Doctors found nothing. Excellent. She enjoyed it. That was the part I couldn't process. She hadn't just wanted me dead for the money. She had savored the process, the power, the control, watching me suffer while playing the concerned caretaker. My phone rang at 10:15. Detective Webb's voice was tense. We have a problem. Madison left her dinner meeting early. Her colleague said she got a phone call and seemed agitated. She's not answering her phone, and she's not at the apartment. Her car's gone. Jane, I think she knows. The fear hit me like ice water. How would she know? Maybe someone tipped her off, or maybe she's just paranoid. Either way, she's in the wind. We've put out a bulo, be on the lookout, for her vehicle. State police are watching the highways. But until we find her, you need to be extremely careful. I looked at the hotel room door, suddenly feeling exposed. Madison was out there somewhere, knowing she'd been caught, knowing I had betrayed her, and I had no idea what she'd do next.
I didn't sleep that night. Every sound in the hallway made me jump. Footsteps, voices, the elevator dinging. I kept imagining Madison finding me, showing up at my door with that perfect smile and poison in her hands. Detective Webb had stationed an officer outside my hotel room, but it didn't make me feel safe. Nothing felt safe anymore. At 3 a.m, my phone rang. I grabbed it immediately. Hello? Ms. Frost, this is Detective Webb. We found your sister. My heart stopped. Where? At the Canadian border. She was trying to cross into British Columbia with a fake ID and $10,000 in cash. Border Patrol flagged her, and when they ran her real name, the warrant came up. She's being transported back to Portland now. She'll be arraigned tomorrow morning. The relief was overwhelming. I started crying, ugly, desperate sobs that I couldn't control. Is it really over? The dangerous part is over. Now comes the legal process. Get some rest, Jane. You're safe now. But I wasn't ready to rest. Not yet. What happens at the arraignment? She'll be formally charged, and the judge will set bail.
Given the severity of the charges and the fact that she tried to flee, I expect she'll be remanded without bail. Then we move toward trial. How long will that take? Months, probably. 6 months to a year, but with the evidence we have, her attorney will likely advise her to take a plea deal. The arraignment took place Monday morning at the Multnomah County Courthouse. Detective Webb had offered to accompany me, but I needed to do this alone. I sat in the back of the courtroom, wearing sunglasses despite being indoors, trying to make myself invisible. When they brought Madison in, I barely recognized her. She wore an orange jumpsuit, her hair was tangled, and her face looked gaunt and pale. Her hands were cuffed in front of her. She scanned the courtroom, and when her eyes found me, something changed in her expression. Not anger, like I'd expected. Something worse. Betrayal. Like I was the one who'd done something unforgivable to her. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Brennan, read the charges. Attempted murder in the first degree, assault in the first degree, theft in the first degree, and fraud in the first degree. Each charge felt like a hammer blow, making it real in a way it hadn't been before. Madison's public defender, a young man who looked barely older than me, argued for bail. Your Honor, my client has no prior criminal record, strong ties to the community, and steady employment. Your client was apprehended at the Canadian border attempting to flee the country, Judge Brennan interrupted. That demonstrates clear flight risk. Moreover, the charges involve an extended pattern of attempting to murder a family member through poisoning. The court considers her a danger to others. Bail is denied. The defendant will remain in custody pending trial. Madison's face crumpled. She said something to her attorney, but I couldn't hear it. They led her out of the courtroom, and she looked back at me one last time. This time, I held her gaze, refusing to look away. She needed to see that I wasn't afraid of her anymore. Outside the courthouse, Detective Webb was waiting. The DA wants to meet with you tomorrow. They're building the case, and they need your testimony about the timeline, the symptoms, everything. Are you up for that? Yes. I want to do whatever helps convict her. Over the next 3 months, I gave my statement 5 different times to prosecutors, to investigators, to forensic psychologists evaluating Madison's mental state. Each time I had to relive those months of being poisoned, had to describe in detail how it felt to be betrayed by the person I trusted most. The hardest part was reading the psychiatric evaluation. The psychologist concluded that Madison suffered from narcissistic personality disorder with antisocial traits. She lacked empathy, viewed others as tools to achieve her goals, and had an inflated sense of entitlement. The inheritance money had become an obsession. She'd convinced herself that she deserved it more than I did, that I was wasting it while she had real financial needs. In her mind, killing me wasn't murder. It was correction. Taking what should have been hers all along. In February, Madison's attorney approached the DA with a plea deal. She would plead guilty to attempted murder and fraud in exchange for dropping the other charges and a sentence recommendation of 18 years. The DA consulted with me first.
It means she serves 18 years minimum before being eligible for parole, the prosecutor, a sharp woman named Claire Dawson, explained. If we go to trial, she could potentially get 30 years or more. But trials are unpredictable. Juries are unpredictable. This guarantees she goes to prison for a substantial time. What do you recommend? Honestly, I think we have a strong case, but I've seen strong cases fall apart. I've seen sympathetic defendants charm juries. Your sister is articulate and intelligent. Her defense would paint her as someone struggling with grief and mental illness, argue that she wasn't in her right mind. Some jurors might buy it. The plea deal eliminates that risk. I thought about 18 years. Madison was 28 now. She'd be 46 when she got out. I'd be 42. We'd both be different people by then, shaped by this trauma in ways I couldn't yet imagine. Take the plea. The formal sentencing hearing was in March. This time, I sat in the front row.
This time, I wanted Madison to see me. The judge allowed me to read a victim impact statement before sentencing. I stood at the podium, my prepared statement trembling in my hands. Madison sat at the defense table, staring straight ahead, refusing to look at me. So I read to her anyway. When our parents died, I thought we were all each other had left. I trusted you completely. I would have done anything for you. And you used that trust to try to kill me. For months, I couldn't understand why I was so sick. I thought something was wrong with me. I blamed myself. The whole time, it was you. Feeding me poison, watching me suffer, documenting my decline like it was a science experiment. My voice broke, but I pushed through. You didn't just try to take my life. You took my ability to trust. You took my sense of safety. You took the memory of our parents and twisted it into something ugly. Every good moment we shared is poisoned now, just like the food you fed me. I'll spend years in therapy trying to undo the damage you've done, and I'll never get those years back. I looked directly at her. She was crying now, silent tears running down her face. I hope you spend every day of your sentence thinking about what you did. I hope you find a way to become someone different, someone capable of feeling remorse. But mostly, I hope I never see you again. Judge Brennan sentenced Madison to 18 years in the Oregon State Penitentiary with no possibility of early release. As they led her away, Madison finally looked at me. Her mouth moved, forming two words, "I'm sorry." I didn't acknowledge it. Sorry wasn't enough. Sorry would never be enough. After the sentencing, Claire Dawson pulled me aside. "There's one more thing. Your sister's assets, her condo down payment, her car, her bank accounts, they're being liquidated to pay restitution to you for medical expenses and emotional damages. It's not a lot, maybe $30,000, but it's something. Money I didn't want, paid with money that had probably come from our parents anyway, but I accepted it. I'd earned it with every dose of poison, every night spent vomiting, every moment of fear." 6 months after Madison's sentencing, I finally moved back into the apartment. Detective Webb had recommended moving somewhere else, starting fresh, but I refused to let her take my home from me, too. I had the locks changed, repainted the walls, bought new furniture. I made it mine again. I also started attending a support group for victims of violent crimes. That's where I met others who understood what it was like to be betrayed by family members, to have your reality shattered by someone you loved. Slowly, painfully, I started to heal. My freelance design business grew. I hired an assistant. I took the restitution money and the remainder of my inheritance and invested it wisely. I built the life I'd always wanted, the one Madison had tried to steal from me. Sometimes I still think about her, locked in a cell, living with what she did. I wonder if she truly feels remorse, or if she's just sorry she got caught. I wonder if she thinks about me, about the sister she tried to murder for money. But mostly, I don't think about her at all. I survived. I rebuilt. I moved forward. And every day I wake up alive is a victory she can never take away from me. The lab results that brought the police to my door saved my life. The sister who poisoned my food will spend the next 18 years paying for her crime. And me? I'm finally free. Free from the poison, free from the lies, and free from the twisted love that nearly killed me. My name is Jane Frost, and this is how I survived my own sister's attempt to murder me.
Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.